So, moving right along to part two of what indie comics could work as animes, moving right along and kicking this off is American Vampire from Scott Snyder. Yes, another Vertigo title, and the reason why I'm picking out Vertigo, even though it's part of DC, it has no set continuity with Vertigo itself, and that's kind of the other thing. A lot of people debate if you can consider Vertigo mainstream or independent. That's another thing. So, anyway, because that's a topic for another time. American Vampire is vampire animes are very popular. American Vampire. Now you're probably wondering, well, doesn't that kind of Japanese anime, doesn't that defeat the purpose with American Vampire? A lot of animes. There are a bunch of animes that take place in America. Baccano, Chrono Crusade. That's two right there. Chrono Crusade, they all have this noirish style to them. And there are a few other ones, like Ronapur, that's not even in Japan. That's in a made-up city in, I believe, somewhere in Asia. I think somewhere near India, they say. I can't remember, I can't be specific for sure. It's kind of like a Gotham City. You can't really tell where it is. Anywho, getting back to this. American Vampire is another good anime series. There are a lot of animes that are based in America and do have like a noir or western type feel to them. And again, like I said, vampire animes are very popular, so I don't see the big problem here. I mean, all the characters are very well done and developed. Skinner Sweet would definitely be a big hit as the character on a whole. Among other things, I think this anime, you could do a very you could still do a lot of darker tone. You can do a lot of darker tone, gory, and sometimes like really dark humor stuff with this anime. This comic is a very big hit. American Vampire is probably one of the better known comics right now. It's like the one comic everyone wants to, independent comic, or, you know what, I'm not even going to argue with that, if you can consider Vertigo part of the mainstream or not, but in other words, I think this would really prosper. And you know what would be also cool? Each season wouldn't have to be very long. You can basically, each story arc would be a season. You could follow the first story arc, which is in the Old West. That can be the first season. That could be wrapped up in about 5 episodes. And that's the thing. You could with animes, it doesn't really have a specific 13 or 26 episodes. You can just wrap a whole season up in just 5 episodes, or 5 to 6 episodes, or even less than that. So you could do about 5 episodes for the first story arc. Then the next season, you can do another 5-episode story involving the 20s. And then third season, you can do the World War II stuff. And then from then on, or however many episodes you want to do. Personally, I think that'd be kind of cool if they did the first 3 story arcs as 3 seasons, and just leave it at that. You know, just 3 seasons, about maybe a total of about 15 episodes, 5 episodes each season, pretty much telling the story in a nutshell. I think that would really work. And besides, you know, Skinner Sweet dies in the end of the series, at the end of the World War II story arc, so that would actually be an okay place to leave off at. Because even though Scott Snyder said, yeah, it's American Vampire, not Skinner Sweet American Vampire, you could just basically follow Skinner Sweet, and you could it could basically revolve around him if you want to change it up that much. But anyway, moving on to the next one. Up next is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, apparently, I did a little digging around, and apparently this did get a 2-episode OVA. This got 2 anime episodes that were based on the original 80s cartoon, where, from what I understand, it was kind of like Ninja Turtles meets Super Sentai. And no, I'm not talking about the Saban Next Mutation stuff. This was animated. You can probably find it on YouTube. From what I heard, yeah, it's really weird. They all become like they become these super mutations that look like Power Rangers, and they all merge together to become Saint Turtle. I'm not making this up. Go look for it. It's weird. But I'm talking about, what if they did a Ninja Turtles anime series, excuse me. What if they did an anime series based around the Mirage comics? I mean, solely around the Mirage comics. Or hell, even it'd be kind of cool if they did the IDW comics. I'm pretty sure the guys working on it now would be completely okay with an anime series. And you're probably thinking, well, wouldn't that be too gory? Dude, Ninja Turtles was meant to be kind of comical and gory, so it was supposed to be kind of be like an offshoot of the Frank Miller stuff, you know, the ultra dark stuff. So you could do actually a dark anime Ninja Turtles series, and no one would be offended. That's what I think. Now the anime style in question, I would really like to see something along the lines of Gonzo Entertainment, or maybe I don't know, something like the same animation as we saw in Ninja Scroll. That would actually work. The same animation team behind Ninja Scroll would be perfect. And I'm not saying, oh, because it's ninjas, but I think they would really build up on the story, and the animation style would really work really well for something like the Ninja Turtles. So, definitely Ninja Turtles anime based around either the Mirage or IDW comics would be frickin' epic. Next up is Frank Miller's Sin City. Now, basically for this anime, this is kind of what I was saying earlier with American Vampire. How I think this should be done, because there's a lot of Sin City stories, you know, A Dame to Kill For, and a few others, but how about, I was thinking this, each season is a different story involving different characters and the different stories in the world of Sin City. Kind of like Marv's story is one season, and then you move on to the next story and the next few characters, involving the other characters throughout the Sin City stories. For the most part, there's that. Now, the animation style would have to be very dark, very gritty, and the animation crew I'd really like to see behind this is something like the group that did Black Lagoon, or something, just something very dark, very gritty, and very bloody. And I think this would be something Sin City could definitely work as an anime, because some of the drawings that Frank Miller does are very manga-ish. I'm not saying he copies manga, but you could easily convert some of the art styles to that, you know? You know, you could easily see, I think in one interview, actually, now that I think about it, I think Frank Miller actually got some inspiration from animes for some of his work. And I'm not saying that's true or not, I just remember, I think somewhere in one of the interviews he had with Frank Miller. But yeah, definitely, I also think I think it would be nice to have Frank Miller have a say in this. I think that'd be another good idea. I don't want this to be like a Darker Baccano, where all the stories are all happening at once. I think it should just be a few episodes focusing on one character, then move on. If you want to go in one season and just move on to different story arcs, I think that'd be a total of about maybe 20 episodes. If you want to do whole story arcs and drag them out, not like hour-long episodes, but the basic 30-minute length, I think that could work. So maybe, I want to say maybe 20, 24 episodes in total if you want to get all the stories of the Sin City in one season. That's a possibility, or even less if they cut corners, which I don't think should be the case. But anyway, moving on. Up next is Eric Powell's The Goon. Now, this could definitely work as another action horror comedy anime. It does have a very anime style to it. Eric Powell's work does have a very anime style to it. What The Goon is basically about is, for those who don't know, The Goon is about this character who pretty much lives in a world full of zombies, monsters, and all kinds of crazy supernatural creatures. And he's basically works as a leg breaker and an enforcer in this world. He's basically a gangster with his friend Frankie. So the two of them basically go out and do all these weird jobs, and most of them is he basically goes down and takes down zombies. The Goon is another anime. I think definitely the group that should be behind this is the group from Soul Eater, because I could definitely see a lot of Soul Eater does have a lot of stuff that the Goon had as well. You know, all the monsters living together, trying to live as a society in some ways. They do have ties to some of the real world in another few ways. But definitely the same crew who did Soul Eater, I think, could definitely benefit and do something very interesting with the Goon as a Goon anime. Now this, I don't know how long you could make this, because this is I think this series is still going on, if I remember right. Yeah, I do believe this series is still continuing. This anime, I'd say maybe cover a few stories, the Chinatown story or something like that. I'd say maybe a total of 3 to 4 seasons for the Goon, maybe 12 episodes each. And trust me, you can tell a lot of story in that time. Unlike what I said about Legend of Korra, who just seemed to rush through things, a lot of animes can tell a lot of story through the 12 episodes. So the Goon would be no different for that. But anyway, moving on. Following that is Mark Waid's Irredeemable from Boom Studios. Now, this is probably one of my favorite comic books, independent comic books, as well as comic books in general. I've talked about Irredeemable a lot, but for those who don't know about this, Irredeemable is written by Mark Waid. The story is basically about this character called the Plutonian, who was once this Earth's greatest hero, but then he went rogue. And he basically is as powerful as pre-Crisis Superman. So imagine that. And it basically follows the story of how he fell from grace, and what this world was like with him, and what drove him to become what he is, and the group of heroes that he once called friends trying to hunt down and kill him. So, that's one way of looking at it. So, with Irredeemable, and you could probably, and I speak for also, you could definitely do as a sister series, its sister comic is also an anime, Incorruptible. But with Irredeemable, this is a very engaging story, and I'd definitely like to see if this ever got to be an anime, you know, converted to that as well. I really would like to see that conveyance of the Plutonian felt really cheated by this Earth. You know, he didn't have the same. He was basically, you could say he's a Superman knockoff, but this basically shows what Superman would have been like if he had a different life. You know, the Plutonian had a very shitty childhood. And it kind of made him. Basically, why the Plutonian became a superhero was to get attention. He was trying to, make. He didn't really have the same family morals as Clark Kent did. He was basically out to do this, just to get recognition, and that kind of. He was already mentally messed up as it was, and there is a lot of engaging story in here, like his arch nemesis coming back. The story within the Paradigm, the superhero team that he was once a part of. The Paradigm have some very interesting stories and intrigue as well. Like Betty Noir has a very interesting backstory between her and the Plutonian, and there are a lot of parallels in how far these heroes are willing to, corrupt themselves to stop the Plutonian. And it's not just them, the whole world has pretty much given up on superheroes after what the Plutonian did. And, again, this would make a really good, engaging story. The series recently ended. It recently ended a while ago. I think actually last month, now that I think about it. Yeah, the series ended last month, and that was a total of about maybe, I want to say about 30-something issues. I think it's somewhere 30 or around 30 issues. Or it could have been 40. Why can I not remember this? So that would be each issue. Actually, this is something a little different. I think what I would do if I had any say if this could be an anime, I think this would be a total of each issue would be an episode. And it would follow that until... Okay, yes, I'm not a big fan of animes who have a lot of episodes, but because I don't really... I like short... I kind of like the condensed stories in some ways. Not because I'm lazy, it's just some of these stories tend to drag on with filler and whatnot. So... But with this, there is no filler in Irredeemable. There is no happy filler, or, hey, look at what I found kind of filler, or backstory. Or, there is backstory, but it's all part of the story. So, And there are animes who do have a lot of episodes who have no filler or little filler. Soul Eater has about 52 episodes, and that's probably the most series I've watched. Dragon Ball Z had a lot of fillers. But hey, growing up, I was a Dragon Ball Z fan, so can't really blame myself for that. But I can blame myself for that, actually. Excuse me. But like I said, I think this could really prosper as and not a mini series like I've been trying to say with the rest of these comic books, but definitely this could work if they follow each issue being an episode. I think that'd work really well. And again, with the sister story, Incorruptible, you could do the same way. Each issue can be converted into an episode. But yeah, that's pretty much my piece on that. So moving on to the final one of this part, and that's Beasts of Burden. Now, Beasts of Burden is a Dark Horse comic that follows these group of pets, mostly dogs and one cat, trying to combat this this supernatural threat in their local town. It's kind of like it does have some scary elements to it, but it's mostly kind of like it's on the level of Coraline for the most part, at least from what I've read. It's kind of like on the level of Coraline, disturbing, or Nightmare Before Christmas kind of stuff. And it was a 4-issue miniseries, so this could be a 4-episode story. And there are a few animes that follow around animals, but there aren't a lot. I mean, there's a few out there. But again, I think this would be really cool. I think this would be toned down a bit, because there are some horror elements you can see from this issue cover. And you could probably do, there was actually a crossover, there was a one-shot crossover they did with Hellboy. So maybe you could tie that in with if you had a Hellboy anime. But yeah, I think this was about 4 or 5 issues long. But again, it was a mini-series, you don't have to invest a lot of time into it. The animation, I'm really hoping could follow the kind of dark inking to it. But yeah, I think this would be a cool... Beasts of Burden would be an interesting anime, because there are animal-centered animes, but they usually involve humans as well. This just solely focused on the animals. And I really enjoyed it. It's a cool little short story. It's very underrated. Like, no one talks about this. Like, not a lot of people talked about Beasts of Burden. But anyway, guys, that's it for part 2. Stay tuned for part 3, where I talk about my remaining indie comics that should be animes. And yeah, once again, you guys tell me what independent comic books do you think should be animes. Later.